So, welcome to this new episode of Smart Fire, the podcast designed to allow you to improve your life, your physique, and your mindset. And I'm very happy and honored today to welcome a very new guest, Mr. Josh Bridgman. Or should I say IFBB Pro, Josh Bridgman? How good does that sound?
It's not going to get old anytime soon, man. I like it. Thank you very much for having me on, man.
You're welcome. My pleasure. It's a huge accomplishment where you've get under your belt those past, was it like 2 months ago? 2.5?
Yes, yeah, 6.5 weeks ago.
Precisely, right? Because when you're an IFBB Pro, obviously you count in weeks, right? Not in months or anything. Okay, I'm very happy to have you on the podcast. So thank you so much for answering my call.
Cool.
You're a man I love. I love your mindset and your dynamics and your overall outlook on life. And I just wanted to share your vibe and the way you see life and your progression and improvement in your business and personal progression as well. So for people who don't know you yet, what the hell are they doing with their life, right? But could you probably introduce yourself, talk about the kind of person you are, what you've been accomplishing, what you want to do in the close future?
For sure. So I'm Josh. I am a bodybuilder. And I've been kind of chasing the dream of being one of the best bodybuilders in my field that I possibly can be for the last 6-7 years probably. And it's a very, very long journey that I committed to, and I kind of knew that when I got started in. I've documented it all on YouTube, Instagram, so a lot of people will know me from just the YouTube channels and stuff like that. I'm also an online coach. I've also got a brand which is called One More Rep, which is all based around the mindset of never giving up and just keeping it moving and just taking that extra rep every single day and taking those small wins over, those small achievable goals to reach a long-term goal, day in, day out. And I've sort of just been living that lifestyle while documenting it as well as possible online. And here I am today getting asked to go on podcasts and stuff. It's crazy. I still find it strange when people are like, do you want to come on my podcast? I'm like, why? What do you want to talk to me about? But no, it's been a hell of a journey so far.
It's always crazy when someone's asking me to come on a podcast, but after all, it's just two people having a sound and an interesting conversation and deciding to, this is so interesting that I want to share it with more people. When I'm actually having a conversation with somebody very interesting, I'm always like, fuck, I should have actually recorded it because somebody somewhere is going to get something out of it. There's something very interesting in what you've just said. You say I'm a bodybuilder, obviously, and I've always wanted to get better at in that field of bodybuilding. My first question is on identity. Have you always wanted to get to the bodybuilding status, or were you just considering yourself I'm just going to go to the gym and then get bigger and get more muscular and then probably I can get into a competition, and so what's the first class I can pretend maybe men's physique or I don't know, muscle model, and then eventually I'll become what people socially call a bodybuilder? Because the building of the identity is something which is, I guess, as important as the building of the physique after all.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think originally it didn't start off with me wanting to be a bodybuilder. For sure, it didn't really. I wasn't I want to go to the gym to be a bodybuilder. I just went to the gym to. What happened was I used to play a lot of rugby, played quite a high standard. I got injured, and the only thing that I could do was was the gym. The only thing I could do was the strength.
Let me guess. ACL tendon?
Yeah, ACL snap. Everyone does. Everyone does, man.
All the rugby players I talk with is 100% chances of getting ACL.
It's so true. It's so true.
How old were you when you got injured?
I was it was just before I went to university, so it must have been 17, 18. It was like the summer before I went to university, and I'd picked my university based off my sport. So I went to this sporting university, and I couldn't even do anything. So the first year of where I was injured, I was just training in the gym, and I just fell in love with it. Like I literally just fell in love with it. Started seeing like the YouTube movement was starting to get real big back then. This is like 2012. This is when Guzman was crazy big. My August Legends of Aesthetics was really, really big. And I loved those guys almost more than what bodybuilding was. And I kind of fell in love with what they did, and I saw that they did competitions. So I was like, I'm going to do a competition. You know, not really like I want to be a bodybuilder, but I want to try a competition to showcase my hard work. And I did it, and I fell in love. And then I was like, right, let's see. I've always been really competitive, always been really, really competitive. So let's just see what I can win now. Like, so I just kind of followed the routes. I did some like random competitions because I didn't understand the routes to the top. Obviously, the moment you have IFBB to get to the IFBB Pro, to get to the Olympia, I didn't understand all that. So I did a few random shows in random federations. Got a better understanding of bodybuilding by talking to those guys, those people there. And I realized that there's a route to the top, and I wanted to get on that route to the top because the one thing that I missed from rugby was the competitiveness and like actively putting yourself against someone and trying to win. And, you know, I've just got that competitive nature in me. Mm-hmm. So I needed to take my passion at the time and find a way to make it competitive. And bodybuilding was born in my brain, and I was like, right, that's what I want to do.
so breakups makes bodybuilders, but ACL tendons tears as well, right?
exactly, yeah.
It's very interesting how a lot of people, in my opinion, come to weightlifting and bodybuilding as a default option, usually when they get injured and they can't do nothing else. Like, for instance, I discovered the love for like training when I got a scooter accident and my back was broken, and the only actual thing I could do to get my brain out of the, you know, the trauma and everything was just like lateral raises and arms and training a bit of back and calves, probably, even if I haven't trained them enough yet. But and then you come to that and you realize that's always the best option. You will always have, even if you're like in a wheelchair, or even if you're like half broken or half I don't know, paralyzed or anything. So that's always something here for me and for a lot of people, probably as a security kind of place you can always go and rebuild yourself, per se.
I completely agree.
Interesting, man. Very interesting. So you grew, and as you grew, like physically and mentally, of course, you were like, oh, I can get better, and probably I can get myself on the path to reach like pro status and greatness and actually perform in that new sport.
Yeah, exactly that, man. Like, I mean, I didn't really understand that bodybuilding was quite a lot of genetics when I first started. Like, genetics plays a big proportion in bodybuilding. There's no two ways about it. But I started doing well. Like I won the first one I tried. I came like top 5 in the second one I did, but against people who are way ahead of me in my career. So I always placed
the
quite
first
well.
The first one were men's physique, right?
It was actually.
Or have you done?
It was more like fitness modeling. So I had like James Bond trunks on, and yeah, it was like fitness modeling. So it wasn't specifically men's physique.
Okay.
But I did well, and I always did well. So I kind of just thought, like, if you're doing well in these, and like I was doing well against people who were assisted. I was doing well against people who were 30 and I was 21. Like, so I knew that like there's something there. Like,
wow.
People, like the judges are putting me at the top for a reason. So I was like, okay, this is my calling. I'm doing well. I'm training. Like I'm looking good. And then I just realized that I've got something here and that I should definitely pursue it.
Which is really crazy. Not denying your potential at all, but placing well against assisted athletes or older athletes with the muscle maturity that we know and so on is a crazy thing, right?
It was. And like, I don't think I knew how crazy it was at the time. I definitely know now. But at the time, yeah, like I was just a 21-year-old kid and I was just going against these guys, turning up backstage. My mum's there like, these are men. These are men with children you're competing against. Like, what's going on here? But
That's
like, I would still do well, right? I never placed outside top 3. So, every competition that I did. So I kind of knew they like something here, and I don't have the size they do. I have the condition they do, but I didn't have the size they do. So it must be the structure. It must be the aesthetics. It must be how I look on stage or how I present myself. So I kind of just put 2 and 2 together and thought, I must do it right. And
growing up as a kid, physically, what kind of kid were you? Like always the strongest, the more sporty into...
Yeah. So always the sportiest. I was skinny, but I was still strong. Just definitely a sportsman. Like I played football to a high standard, rugby to a high standard, but I could do nearly every sport really to a decent level. So I was always very, very sporty.
The diamond genetics, right?
Yeah.
you have the raw potential. You can do like whatever you like with it, right? As long as you put your mind and hard work and dedication to it.
For sure.
That's cool. That's very cool because, as you said, bodybuilding is a lot of genetics. Mm-hmm. And it's not to deny the amount of crazy hard work you've been putting in since. Like you started training at like 17 and you're now 26, 27?
28.
28, man. Oh, you're getting so much older. Okay, so it's already like almost 11 years of training under your belt. Mm-hmm. And you've loved every minute of it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like there's definitely been ups and downs, times when motivation's been down and whatever, but I've always shown up at the gym. Like I've always done my time and put the effort in.
Okay.
And yeah, I've loved it, man. Like I think the thing I love the most is just seeing progression on a daily basis. Like that it's not actually, but like I feel better than the person I was last week every single week, Like that's how I feel when I go into the gym and I do a little bit more. I'm like, I'm better than last week. Good. Let's keep moving, and I kind of use that.
Obviously, do you feel that even more now than you're enhanced, compared as like when you were probably reaching your natural potential as a natural athlete and then seeing like diminishing returns as you probably should?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest, the progression's faster now, but I think the biggest thing is that when I was natural, towards the end of when I was natural, when I was making the decision to go assisted, I felt like I wasn't working towards my goal, because my goal was to be on the Olympia stage, and I knew, okay, maybe you get pro naturally, maybe, but it's still 3, 4, 5 years down the line. But my goal is Olympia in 3, 4, 5 years down the line. So I think the biggest part of me of being assisted was, okay, now I'm actually working towards my goal. So now the progressions mean a lot more, I think that's what helped me the most. Okay,
so you would say your goal definitely evolved with your practice and with your training, because I'm not sure you would consider yourself seeing yourself taking PEDs somewhere along the line when you were like 17 or 18, or am I wrong? Probably.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was a moving goalpost. That's what I like to call it. Like my goalpost was here. This is where I want to be. I want to be a pro natural. That was the biggest goal I had ever. I want to be a natural pro. And then I realized like reality hit, and I was like, ooh, that's going to be very, very difficult. And if you can do it, it's not going to be in the time frame that you want to do it. So then I was like, okay, I need to, and that was quite a hard, like if you have this huge goal that you work towards for, like it was 4 years of that time that I've been working towards it, for them to go, actually, that goalpost is not going to get hit. I'm not going to get there. And then I had to pick it up and move it a lot further away. And then I was like, okay, now I can work towards it. But that was quite a hard, like 6 months transition where I felt like I wasn't really working towards anything. And then obviously I transitioned and I was ready for it.
Well, it's smart. It's a very mature way to evolve with your goals and your accomplishments. But at least it means that even when you started as a teenager, you already had the understanding of like who was like natural, who was not, and what was the difference between those kind of two universes, and what you needed to do in order to keep getting better.
Yeah, exactly. I think I'm glad that I didn't come into the industry like blind to that side of things, because I think a lot of people come into the fitness bodybuilding industry blind to who's using steroids and who's not.
Man.
And then they think things are possible that just aren't possible, and it's, you know, it's very discouraging.
So much at the beginning I was like so naive. Like I went to my first like fitness model competition, and I was competing against guys. I was like, okay, crazy, but okay, you know what I mean? Like, and after that, after getting a bit more education and seeing the photos and so on, I was like, damn. And now when I see the photos of myself on stage, weighing in at like 64 kilos or something like that, and I placed like fourth, and the guy on the first place was like, I don't know, probably 90, something like that. And now I see everything, you know, like I see the gynecomastia, I see all the traits, all the physique like aspects that I know for sure now. It's like even eyes closed, I can smell the guy in the room, you know what I mean? and at the time I was like, oh, okay, well done, pretty big, crazy. And I maybe it's because in France we don't have that like gym culture and that gym education, and I came quite late to the party, to be honest, because I started like training really at like 24, 25, and did my first competition when I was like 26-ish. But how did you get the education, like that understanding of how things would work actually?
YouTube, man. YouTube. Like it was literally just I just was part of that upcoming culture in YouTube, that like the fake natty stuff, and people were calling out fake natties and all this kind of whatever that people talk about these days. Like I was kind of involved in that, and like I was the guy who was like, he's not natural. And I was that guy who's trying to work it out.
Already crazy.
Yeah. Like, you know, like, because I got accused of taking steroids so often when I was natural. Every day I woke up with a new comment saying, "You look on steroids. I know this is all fake." So
which is a very good sign, right?
Which is a good sign, yeah, exactly. So I made it my job to find out who was natural and who wasn't. You know, because I was like, just to prove a point.
That's always how it begins, right? Like the chasing of the fake net is
for sure.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But also like just exposure in the industry, time in the industry, experience, like you just see it, right? And now that I use anabolics, like it's night and day. This guy's natural, this guy's not. It's so clear cut for me.
In psychology and psychological sciences, and the guy I work with, which is Meadow and Selmans, has very, very strong theory about it's called in English the range frequency theory, meaning you always judge something not according to its absolute value, but according to a set of reference of values that you know. Like, for instance, somebody who's like 90 kilo is big and muscular for me, but for you would be, kind of small because you weight like 23 more kilos, you know what I mean? So the absolute, is big and is muscular is always something you need to be judging according to your set of reference. And that theory alone explains that when you cross the line and get from natural to enhance, now your eyes just open because you see the reality of what's possible and achievable with the help of like PEDs and so on.
No, that's really true. And like before I started using, like I thought it was a miracle drug. I thought it was like you put this in you, the next day you're massive. Like that's literally what I thought. Like that's literally what I thought as a natural guy. But then like as you go through the process, you realize that's not it.
What a lot of users say is that usually it takes about like 6 months to actually come into fruition and yields the first results in terms of like muscle mass and so on. But the feeling of the strength increasing and the hormonal changes actually get quite quicker than that.
Yeah, like, for sure.
Much quicker.
Like, I felt like it was the first week. Like I remember the first week, because you will, like the moment you put testosterone in, your blood serum will peak, but it will just like it will come down quite quickly. But I remember lying in my bed after about 8 days after my third injection, and I had my duvet over me, and I thought, my chest is touching that duvet a little bit more. And it had been like 8 days, and I thought like, yeah, this is it. And it had been like 8 days. But yeah, like I don't think I truly felt like Yeah, I'm on steroids. Like until like after 2019, I think, or maybe. So that's like a year of using it, probably. Like after about a year, I was like, okay, this is what you get when you use steroids for a long period of time.
Okay. How much of a placebo effect was going on in your brain? Do you think a lot?
Yeah, probably quite a lot.
Positive effect, probably, because you're like, okay, now's the time, and now I did it, so now let's get to work. And
yeah, exactly.
Okay. What would you say, apart from the physical benefits, of course, what would you say is the biggest the biggest like advantage of like doing it? Probably the commitment you get from the psychological switch. Like, okay, it's done. Now I have no excuse to not be the best or not be the best I can be.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing for me. 100%, that was the biggest thing for me. It was like, right, if you're gonna put this poison in your body to get to a goal, you best work to get to that goal. You know, and that's the mindset that I had coming into it. It was like, right, the moment to be fair, before I started, I was acting like a professional, but it gave me more reason to be like, right, you need to be a professional from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. So, you know, what do the professionals do? What does Mr. Olympia do? This is what you're going to do. Not in terms of how much food he eats and how hard he trains, but the steps that he takes every single day in order to get to where he needs to go. I was like, this is it. You know, that was 2.5 years ago, and that's been working every single day, since then.
Would you say that it gave you like more commitments towards your own goals and dynamics? Like just doing that helped you focus even more on what you wanted to accomplish? Like even outside bodybuilding, on your brain, with your probably family, personal life, or?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's really difficult because it was kind of a moment in time in my life where I was like, not only was I potentially spinning my wheels with my physique, but I also felt like I was spinning my wheels with my business. Okay. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't really sat down and thought about it, but maybe when I was like, right, I'm going to take this jump to using steroids. This is going to be my life. This is going to be my business. This is going to be my job. Like those decisions may have been made in one go, right? So I do feel like around about that similar time, 2.5 years ago, was when I was like, this is going to be my job now. So, you know, present yourself right on Instagram, YouTube, put the effort in.
And then
exactly that. Tunnel vision.
All the faces of the mirrors just came all together and helped you build a more like a unique and do you say coherent in English? Like a
coherent,
logical perspective of what you were doing?
That's exactly how it felt.
I'm asking the question because that's what I feel from you. Whereas a lot of like golden era bodybuilders that you listen to are like, oh, that's bodybuilding, that's my life. And you feel that because they've made that choice, that to follow that path, they actually destroy everything around that. Like, you know, get rid of their like family obligations and fathers and parents and kids and whatever, and even like business life and way of like living and getting better, and just focus solely on that and forget about everything else. And the way you do it, which is of course smarter to me, is like you put all that energy and focus into bringing the same product inside and out, like inside and out of yourself and inside and out of bodybuilding to every single aspect of your life.
Yeah, that's how I felt. And I felt this like, I feel like I'm on a journey of self-improvement across all the things that I'm interested in, but every day. And like, so that progression, like that, it's the one more mentality, man. Like I apply that mentality to bodybuilding, but I apply it to my relationships, to my business, to this, to that, because it's really what makes a difference in all those things. It is like nothing works unless you do, right? It really, really doesn't. And the penny, you know, in English you say the penny dropped. So the moment happened, and I was like you said, I just refocused. And like I've absolutely loved this journey that I'm on.
That's very interesting. I'm going to shift the conversation towards like probably perception of people in social media, mirror, because you've been building your identity, and it's a case of like literally building yourself up and building your life up. Now that you're coming to a like very privileged, we understand each other, but very, insight, very kind of famous and known and recognized status. How is your image of yourself getting along with the social media mirror, like the image that people send you back?
Pretty good, man. Like, I feel like I'm... Sorry, go on.
I was just wanting to know if it's like any different, or how you actually dealing with the buildup of the perception people have of yourself and the way you see yourself.
I think it's pretty similar. I feel like I'm pretty like you see what you get, like you get what you see. I feel like that was the one thing that I really wanted to show to the social media world, was just raw honesty, like this is me as a person. You either like it or you don't. Like I feel like I'm a good person. I feel like I'm a good role model to people. So I feel like in just being myself, people see that, like you kind of summarize, like, I mean, you've been watching me, like you summarize how I feel about myself sometimes. And I don't want to like talk about myself in that aspect, but I feel like all those things that you said, I was like, you've said that almost better than how I can say it. So yeah, like I feel pretty good. Like I knew that this would be a thing in later on down the line when I first started, and I knew that I wanted to be true to myself the whole way, no matter what happens. And I think most importantly, I got the people around me that just keep me grounded, keep me who I am, and that's probably the biggest thing for me.
That's something very interesting in the way you get better, is that a lot of people, probably not Christian Guzman, right? But a lot of people actually, play it very kind of selfish and focus on themselves. And when you hear like Arnold in Pumping Iron saying, "Oh, my father died. Well, I got a competition in 2 weeks' time, so I can't go to his burial." You're like, "What the hell?" And whenever you're talking about what you're doing on a day-to-day basis, you're always mentioning like your mom, your girlfriend, and so you seem to come across as a very family guy. And we can feel, even across the screen, we can feel your core values in the way that you're still close to the people that actually matter.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that I wanted to keep through, because my mum and my girlfriend have such a big influence on my life. Like from day one, like they went through the shit, like less so my girlfriend, because we've been with her for 3.5 years. So, but the stuff before that, like I had from 20 to 25, like I had like crippling anxiety for so long, and I couldn't. Yeah, I did. It was so strange, and I couldn't even voice it at the time. And it took me to, I say transform, enlighten, become who I am today, to realize how crippled I was by it. But having my mum there, she just helped me through everything and supported me through every single thing that I've ever wanted to do. No matter what it was, she always had my back, and that's the thing that's my heart right there. My mum always has my back, and she's never going to go on it. She's the one that keeps me grounded. She doesn't care about all this social media stuff. Like she watches everything I do. If I say something that's a little bit out of whack, she's going to message me and be like, "What are you talking about? This isn't you." You know what I mean? So having someone like that is invaluable. But yeah,
you mentioning anxiety. It's something that I like psychologically understand, but rationally I can't get my mind around it, because I've never been an anxious person. Like, for instance, yesterday we had a car accident with my girlfriend. Like, we crashed the car I just bought like 8 months ago, because somebody just like slowed down in front of us. We broke, I don't know.
Yeah.
And the girl behind us just went like, I think the girl was on her phone or something like that, and she just smashed my car in the back, and everything's fucked up. And we came back to the apartment, and when my girlfriend was like, "Oh my god." I'm like, well, what else can you do about it? Are you injured? No, you're not suffering. Okay, so let's move on. We call the insurance tomorrow, and we'll see what's happened, and that's it. And I think I'm the least like anxious person. If there's something which is out of my control, Okay, just wait and see. Yeah. But hearing that somebody as strong as you are is actually prevented from like seeing positive outcomes in his life, or even like, you know, focusing on the good aspects of his life because of his own mind, because anxiety is essentially within yourself, right? It's just a mental barrier, is incredible to me, because I don't see how strong people like you could ever be, you know, blocked and in a kind of like glass cage inside yourself for that reason.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. Like, the thing is, it's not rational. It's actually not a rational feeling. It's not, right?
No, but even knowing that, you can't convince yourself that.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it, man. It's like, when I used to have anxiety, I used to just take myself out of the situation and say, look, it's just this, it's just this, it's just this. I can rationalize it, and that doesn't take away the feeling. So it's like it was like a losing battle, like where I could pull myself out. I could see why I'm anxious. I could see what I need to do to stop being anxious, and that didn't stop me. You know, whether or not I had something in me that stopped me from doing it, because I don't get anxiety anymore. I rarely get anxiety now. Every now, like self-doubt and stuff, but that's usual. That's life, right? So I managed to master it eventually, but it just wasn't rational. And I think the thing that frustrated me the most was that I knew why I was anxious. I knew how to stop it, and I just physically and mentally couldn't for years. And that was the thing, that I just was in this cycle every day of not being able to get over it. Yeah.
If it's not too personal, what was the object and the subject of the anxiety? Why?
So
mainly,
it was real strange, man. Like, it kind of developed when I went to university. I feel like I'm quite a home person, a mama's boy, as you know. And so it was the first time I'd left home. Like, I come from a real small village, real small town. Like, people don't really leave there. And I went to university, and I had like severe social anxiety. So that's what it was. It was social anxiety. I couldn't meet new people. I couldn't go to my lectures because I was just afraid of what people would think of me. I was afraid that people would judge me for not turning up to the previous lecture. So then I missed one lecture. I couldn't go to the next one because I was afraid that they would judge me for missing the first one. Then I missed the second one. And I did this every single day for 3 years. I went to 6 lectures in 3 years in the whole university career. Yeah. Wow. And I couldn't tell my mum about it because she paid for it. So I didn't want to tell her. I didn't want to tell my dad because my dad's a little bit more hard-headed, and he would be like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I'd be like, "That's not the way that I want to feel right now." Shit. And it just like spiraled, man, and it got to the point I didn't turn up to like some of my exams because I was like, we had like a credit system, and if you have to get a minimum amount of credits and you pass, so I was like, okay, cool, so I don't need this credit or that credit, I'm not even gonna go, because I just had this elephant on my chest. I was like, they're gonna judge me for why I'm there. And it was really strange, man. Like, I couldn't go to clubs, I couldn't go to like meet new people. The only people that I got to know were the people that I was like forced into a building with, and then they were my best friends, and then it was fine, and we were just kind of linked in like that. So it was real strange, man, because I never had that. Like, I was a social person at school. I was in the rugby team. We sang, we drank. You know how it is. You sing songs, you go out on town and do stupid shit. Like, that was us, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks, and I felt like I just came into a shell, and I think that's what held me back. I think I still suffer a little bit with that now, like in terms of like collaborations. Like, so I struggle to meet new people to collaborate. It's weird. Like, I get like what am I gonna say to him? Is he gonna think I'm stupid?
Really?
Yeah. It does sometimes happen. not that often anymore. Now I'm a bit like, it's all just life. And it took me a long time, and then like I smoked a lot of weed. So like at university, like that was my vice. Like, get anxious, smoke weed, forget about it, right? And I never fully addressed it like head on, because I would just forget about it. Like, and I'd put myself around friends who would take my mind off it, right? And because you're at university and you've got like 4 or 5 friends, not everyone's at a lecture all of the time. So when I was with someone, there was no anxiety. The moment they went to their lectures, I'm like, fuck, I should be doing that. And anxiety came back, and it crippled me. And it happened for a long time, man. It took me like 4 or 5 years to get out of. But that stopped me from pursuing what I wanted to pursue. Like, it stopped me from vlogging as much. Like, I'd do a YouTube video, but I'd have to be on my own in my room or in my car on my own. I couldn't have people looking at me. So all my content from like the first year is just only me will be in that video. Yeah, and it crippled me for a little bit, and it kind of just delayed my entire journey, to be honest. So.
Man, knowing that, the way I see your improvement and progression in life and in your business is like even more incredible, because the 2 times we met, I never felt like that you could be a bit, anxious or socially awkward. Like, the socially awkward type. Like,
yeah.
We have so much people like that in the fitness industry. Like, you depict them and you see them as a like normal, functioning human being and social person and so on. And then when you meet them in person, you're like, there's something strange happening, right? And you don't know why. And you come across like so, chill and natural and social and all around like a well-functioning person that I would never have bet that you were suffering that kind of things.
Yeah, it's strange, man. It's strange, but it's part of what makes me today, or what makes me today. I think if I didn't have those sufferings, I wouldn't appreciate how I feel right now.
Sure.
So. For sure.
How? I mean, what would you attribute the reason you got out of it to?
Desperation. I just I needed to get out of it, and I didn't get like therapy. I didn't really talk about it with many people, to be honest. The only times I've really like opened up has been like after 25, when I kind of feel like I got out of it. I immersed myself in content. That's what I did. I immersed myself in people that motivated me. I immersed myself in people who pretty much shouted at you, just do it. Like Gary Vee, right? His story is just fucking do it. So I watched enough of that content. I watched enough of smart people telling me how to progress my life. I listened to enough podcasts that talk about anxiety and how to deal with it, that I just did it, and I got out of it myself. I wish I did it differently. Maybe I don't wish it differently, but I could have done it differently. I could have told people about it. I could have told people that I was close to about it. Like when I told my mum about it, or when I told my mum about it, maybe when I was 25, she was just like, I didn't even know that. She couldn't even sense that from me.
Crazy.
Yeah. But when I told her, she kind of went, "Oh shit, that makes a lot of sense," because she was the one who had to. Actually, when I missed those credits that I was talking about, I actually missed too many credits, and I actually failed my first year technically.
Wow.
But she wrote a letter, and I had to like explain to her. I had to lie to her because I couldn't tell her my anxiety, and I had to tell my mum like I'm not going back to university next year, and she was like, "Nah, that's not happening." She drove up to the university. She like went to the principal's office and was like, "Look, my son did not mean to do this." Blah 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 blah. All these issues. I think she made up some issues as well to try and get me back in. And they passed me. They gave me the credit for free, so I could go to year 2. I didn't have to repeat it.
Crazy.
Which I was really lucky. But when I told her this is what was happening, she went, "Oh, now that makes sense."
Wow. Was it hard for you to come across with the truth to your mom?
Not when I think when I started talking about it, I was at peace with it. I'd moved past it. I knew that part of my life was done. So I was more than happy to open up. I think I actually did a podcast first. Like I think first. Because for me it helps because it's just me, and I can just like explain my feelings to a podcast, and then I like made my girlfriend listen to it, made my mum listen to it, and they both like come crying to me, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know how you felt like this," and I'm like, "This was the easiest way for me to tell you, was just through me and a podcast mic." So it wasn't hard, and they were both really, really supportive when I told them, so it was fine.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always had this idea that people having probably the strongest internal battles or obstacles, or probably limitations, who do so much better in building the outside shell and obviously probably being so good at like bodybuilding, because I don't know why I feel that if you're actually blocked and there's something you can't tell and you need to express yourself in a way, you're always more, motivated to push the outside shell and envelope and say something to the world that's obvious physically and that kind of like deter people to, you know, get into yourself and get to see the light through the cracks of the shell, kind of.
Yeah, man, definitely. I definitely used a lot of techniques to kind of blind people to how I was actually feeling. Like I talked to some of my best friends from uni, and I explained how I was feeling, and even they were just like, wow, like I didn't even know you feel like that, right? Because I would put this show on. I was the guy I was like the big weed smoker. I was like, I don't give a fuck, man. Like, I smoke weed, I'm cool. Like, that's literally what I gave out at university. And yeah, like, yeah, I'm just glad that I'm not in that place anymore.
But it never prevented you from like going to the gym, showing up to the gym, for instance.
Yeah, it didn't at all. Like, nothing stopped me from going to the gym. Right? Yeah, luckily, very, very luckily, actually. Yeah,
because you were considering it as a way for yourself to, you know, express and get better and get on the path of what you wanted out of your life, even 100%. If you had like other people in the gym and looking at you training and so on. That's the security place you had. Exactly.
It was the one place on my whole university campus that I felt safe, you know. And the best thing about it was I didn't have to walk through the campus to get there. It was like it was on the outside, so I could just like creep in, do my thing, and leave. So I didn't see too many people, and that's what's going through my head. I'm like, if I have to walk through my whole campus, people might see me, be like, "Isn't that guy in my class?" Not that it matters, but rationally, why the fuck does it matter?
Yeah, it is. It does.
But I was like, if they see me and they think, oh, they're gonna think, who's this guy? And I'm like, you know, and I'll be like walking with my head down. But it was the one place that on the whole campus that I could go and go, let's get a good workout in, then let's go do this, you know.
So I guess no socializing in the gym, like headphones on, big hoodie, and then just focusing on the task at hand and leaving your mind, body, and soul on the bars and the weights.
Yeah, I used to train with people though. I always used to train with people.
Interesting.
Like as in my like the people I live with. We always used to train together. But yeah, like I wouldn't be talking to people I wouldn't be like going out my way to talk to people. You know what? I actually felt quite confident in the gym. I did actually feel quite confident in the gym when I think about it. Like I was the only person who would wear a stringer vest in the gym, for example, which is really crazy when I think about it, because that's like the opposite of how I felt when I'm in classes. Like when I'm in class, I'm like, right, the very, very few times I'm just going to sit at the back. Even times when I managed to go to a class, I'd sit at the back and I'd wait to the break and I'd leave at the break because I'd be like, I just feel too awkward. But when I'm in the gym, I had a bright red stringer, and you'll see some of the videos. It was bright red, and I was the only person wearing a stringer because I felt like I looked quite good, right? It was crazy. It was the one place that I had confidence.
That's crazy how confidence is not a general feeling, but it's very situational, right?
Yeah, it's so true.
Incredible. And now you've built back this confidence into all the aspects of your life, right?
Exactly. Now I feel
even in business.
Yeah. Even in business, it's strange to sit back and believe in yourself. It's very, very strange. and no more than this year have I believed in myself and had that confidence in myself in a lot of aspects in life. There's obviously still aspects that I want to improve, but a lot of these things that I've been pursuing for the last 4 or 5 years, I feel good in them all now. I feel confident I can have a conversation with anyone about them now, which is nice.
How do you see the social media and the YouTube and podcast and Instagram so on aspect in your business? Like, because you have your brand, so it takes a lot of development, a lot of work, a lot of like conception and so on. But how do you see the social media aspect? Is it what helps you communicate about your brand, or is it part of your like building yourself as a person, as an identity? Is it a global thing, like just one global movement, and you're just improving all the aspects and getting better at everything?
Yeah, I think the last thing that you said there, I'm trying to improve everything that I do, but I understand that all of it's pretty synergistic. All of it links into each other.
Sure.
But I also know the value in treating them separately. So I do want to treat Wanamar, the company, the business, separately to myself. I don't want to become the brand. I want the brand to become itself. But I understand the value of having to feed everything into each other, and I think things just grow so much better when you're on all platforms and when you're putting all the effort in across everything.
Have you heard the saying, if you are your business, you don't have a business?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
I thought it was just French, but okay. Okay. There's that fear as a, even if I don't like the word, but as a influencer or public producing content person, you always have to ask yourself the question, is it going to be just about me, or do I want it to become something like beyond me that people can get into their lives and love and get to appreciate, even if they don't know me as a person? So you have to differentiate the person you are, or the person you are perceived as, from the brand and from the brand content as well.
Sure. Yeah, I quickly realized that. I mean, my first merch was my name. It was it was JBF, and then my coaching name, Brigade. And like, I quickly realized that that's only going to grow as much as I can grow, and it's directly correlated to my growth. And I get bigger, the company gets bigger.
And that's scary, because correlated to your growth or potential failure, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you tie yourself to it. I also learned a lot of lessons from Guzman, like when he was CG Fitness, like back in the day. And he was like, right, and he actually did a video when he was talking about, I needed to be big, I needs to be worldwide. I don't want it to run by myself. And actually, when he did step away from YouTube, maybe a couple of years back, he was saying in those videos, the reason why I'm stepping back is because this company needs to run itself. It needs to not be, when CG posts, that's when people buy stuff. When our fleet posts, that's when people buy stuff. And like, my cogs were turning, and I'm like, right, I need to develop a brand here. I need to make something separate for myself. And One of Ma was born. Like, One of Ma was something that I used to say in university to my one of my friends. In fact, he was the one person that knew about my anxiety, and he used to say to me, "One more rep, bro. That's all it is. Get up, go to this, get it done. It's one more rep." You know, because he would try and say it in his head. He's trying to say it in a term that I understand, right? Because I go to the gym, he's like, "One more rep." He goes, "That's all life is. That's all life is. It's just one more rep. It's one more rep." And it's funny because he now is like a part of One Amar in the back scenes, which is great. I brought him on, like, literally like 3 or 4 months ago. I was like, "Look, bro, I need some help. Do you want to help?"
Crazy.
He was like sick. So that's where it started, and then I thought that's what it is. Let's start it separate. Granted, it's still gonna grow when I grow, but it's like where I think what's proven very, very good for me is that I started One Amar when I had hardly any followers. Well, I say hardly any, under 10,000 maybe. And I've kept it at One Amar the whole way. And now that I'm at 55,000 or whatever it is, and there's 5,000 followers on the One Amar pages, I get people tag me and I click on their profiles and like, they don't follow Josh Bridgman. I'm like, good. That's good. Like, I don't want them to follow me.
You don't care anymore now. Yeah,
exactly. Like, it's just the brand is building itself. So,
crazy shift. That reminds me of the Casey Neistat tattoo. Do more on his forearm.
Yeah.
One more rep. The message is really strong.
That's how I feel. I mean, it's stuff that people say. I know people have 10, 15 different sayings for just do it. But this just resonates hard in the bodybuilding industry, and also it does transcend all the other industries because it is about turning up every day. Let's
talk training real quick. I always love the atmosphere and the exchange and the communication, like verbal and non-verbal, you have with like TM cycles, for instance. When you're training together, there's always something happening. Like, how does training alone and training with those close friends differ? Like, what kind of training do you prefer in your quest to becoming the best and improving yourself on a daily?
Yeah, the best progress I ever made was with Joe and Tom, TM Cycles and Joe Brightman, for sure. 3 guys chasing after a very similar goal of self-improvement. We get on really well.
Obviously.
But also just having some strong boys around really, really helped. Really helped. And I think if I could ever afford it, which would be later down the line, because I was watching a video the other day, who was it? Flex Lewis. It was Flex Lewis, and he was saying how he brought in training partners. So he paid for their apartments, he paid for this, he paid for that. He brought in training partners for Olympia preps. I would love to do that one with someone. Just bring someone in, be like, look, come train with me. it's difficult now because Tom's moving away from bodybuilding. Joe doesn't necessarily want to compete next year, so like it's just a lone wolf at the moment. It's just me at the moment. But 100%, if you've got someone who's like-minded going for a very similar goal, you're going to get further. You are going to get further. I got more progress in that 8 months in my physique, which is obviously the goal, than any other time training on my own. You know, you've got that, even if it's just on a physiological level, someone is helping me through a couple reps that I physically can't do. But also on a mental level, I'm with someone that's motivating me. I'm with someone who's telling me to keep going. It helps on a multitude of levels.
As a still natural athlete, I see exactly what you're saying about the psychological benefit. But when I'm training alone, I don't want anybody to push me through and past the point of failure, because I know that I'm not going to recover that well, and I might get injured. My genetics doesn't allow me to hit failure multiple times in each workout. But as a assisted athlete, there's obviously a huge benefit of being able to push the limits and do always one more rep and push it further.
For sure.
But you've still been training like that when you were natural still? I
did, yeah, for years and years actually. So
and never got injured
because the form's there, right? The form is perfect. The volume's not too much. Like, yeah, I'm pushing really hard, but I'm only doing a couple of sets here and there. Like, it's not crazy. Okay. Also, there's 100% something to be said for just adapting to that type of stimulus. So when me, Tom, and Joe first started training, we said, right, we're going to take each other through 1, maybe 2 reps with them taking off 25%. So I've still got perfect form. But I already muscularly failed. Now they're just helping me to get a little bit further. Like on the last set of an exercise, not all the sets, right? Yeah, exactly. So the last set's of an exercise, a couple reps that would help me through. The first couple of weeks, we were all fucked. we were just like, we got to do this for the next 10 weeks, 12 weeks. But we kept up with it, and 3-4 weeks down the line, we had all adapted to that type of response and that type of digging deep into your physique hole. We adapted to recovering from that pretty well. And you know, before the end, we were killing it. Never got injured because of it. Touch wood. I've never, yeah, wherever it is, I've never been injured through bodybuilding. I've never had an injury through bodybuilding. I keep my form tight, man, real tight. I see that when you train. It's a very good thing and a very positive aspect of your training. Do you warm up properly? Because I see a lot of assisted athletes that can't be arsed anymore to warm up. You know what I mean? Like, let's just chest press and pull full plates now. For me, there's more reason to be warming up. Like, the weights that you're moving are a lot heavier, for sure. Like, so I do a lot of priming. So I do priming. I'll do at least 2 or 3 warm-up sets as well. I'm fully warm when I'm ready to go. Okay. How long do your training sessions typically last? Like 1 hour and a half, something like that? 1.5 hours roughly. Not too long. Yeah. Okay. I see. All right, man. There's some question I wanted to ask you, probably the last one, because it's been like almost an hour, and no problem. And I'm very happy and lucky to have you for that long, and sharing picking your brain, as you say in English, for that long. Do you see yourself having kids in that kind of like lifestyle in a few years, probably? Or not? You know what? Like, I have no paternal feeling in my body, really. I don't really have I want kids in my body. Okay. But there's a but coming, right? You know what? Like, I have no affection for kids. I don't really like kids. I don't really have an inclination to want kids, but I have an understanding that there may be a point in my life where I feel like that's the one thing that I haven't achieved. And like, that's the one thing that's a very unique achievement. You know, you can get money, you can get an Olympia title, but I can't, like, the only way to have a child is to obviously go through that process. So I don't doubt that there may be a position in my life where I feel like that's something unique to achieve. But right now I've got I don't really feel like I want kids. And is your girlfriend on the same mentality at the moment? Same mental place? I think luckily, yeah. Like, luckily, yeah. She doesn't really have a maternal feeling, but also she is as in her job as I am, right?
Okay.
We're full send. I'm full send into bodybuilding. For what she does, she's full send. Like she's 12-hour days, like working like a dog, trying to climb the top of the ladder. There's not real. I think that's one hard thing for women in work is like maybe the biggest part of your career is when you've been working for 5 to 6 years, which is from 20 to 26. And you got from 26 to 35 is when you really want to have a kid, or most girls want to have a kid. But in a world of work and real business, you let off for a year and you kind of fall down the ladder. So for someone like her,
Sure.
she can't like take a step back at this point.
What does she do?
She's like the head of pricing and marketing in like a real big fashion brand in the UK.
Nice. Yeah, so a lot of responsibilities and commitment and stress and
Huge amounts. Yeah.
crazy. And do you think that's because or thanks to her vision of work and probably work ethic that's helping you build yourself and your brand as well through
100%.
communication and influence and
100%. Like, you know,
Okay.
2.5 years ago was when I started Steroïds. 3 years ago was when I met her, you know, and it just so happens that, you know, the biggest change in my life was the last 3 years. I think when I first met her 3 years ago was, I'm trying to think of the date. I can't quite remember, but all I remember is it was 1 December and it was Christmas, and I'm thinking, I need to get petrol money to drive to her to give her presents that I can't afford. And I'm like, what do I do? I'm like, do you mind if you let me 20 quid just to get 20 pounds so I can put petrol in my car to drive to you? So I asked her for 20 quid at like the 23rd of December before Christmas, because I had no money left, to drive to her to say hello for Christmas, to drive back. And that feeling wasn't the best feeling when she was working 10-hour days, earning a good, you know, really, really good wage. She's a huge motivation for me to not, I don't want to say to be the person that she deserves, because I think I should do what's good for me as well. But
Sure.
a part of me wanted to like show up for her and be like, no, this is, you know, this is me and this is what I'm doing. So she was a huge, huge influence in that mindset shift as well. Probably unknowingly, yeah.
That's very nice. The way you speak about your relationship and your partner, it's really tells a lot about how you see life and evolving together, probably.
Yeah, true.
How do you see your success? Like, how do you visualize and depict your success in what terms, in what aspects in the next, like, I don't know, 5-10 years? What do you want to achieve? Except being with no, not except, because that's maybe probably the main thing, but on the Olympia stage. But what kind of like achievements do you want to get?
I want to have a big footprint in the world, man. I want a legacy. But a legacy of helping people, a legacy of educating people, a legacy of arming people with the knowledge, the motivation that they need to get and achieve the things that they want to do. I appreciate I'm in the niche of bodybuilding, but I think a lot of what I talk about and a lot of the way that I act can be applied to any field, right? And I think a nice thing about being in the fitness space is that a lot of people are into fitness, but also they're into other things. So they can take what I say about fitness and they can apply it to themselves in their own jobs. I think that's one huge motivation in terms of like me as a person on YouTube and Instagram. Then if I look at my other business with One of Mine, like I want to be in every gym. Like I want to be the renowned place to go for the best accessories that you can get for the gym, but not ripping people off. And the one thing that I've learned when I'm making these items and these products is that people are ripping you off. They're going crazy with it, and I'd want to be just a well-trusted, you know, honest human being, honest business, and I want to be worldwide with that.
What's the part of like what part does ego play in such a accomplishment driven dynamics, do you think, to be honest? Because it's very hard to be honest with yourself and say, okay, I want to share, I want to give the people the opportunity to get better and so on, but you're always in the center of the dynamics because you're always the one pushing and doing the work and showing in day out, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think ego has to play a little bit of a part.
That's the spark, right? That's the beginning of it, probably.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like I had to start with an egocentric idea, I think things can be egocentric, but they can have the side effects of helping other people. I don't. It's a difficult one because I know there's books like Ego is the Enemy. I mean, I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a world-renowned psychologist. But I feel personally like a sprinkling of ego sometimes pushes you a little bit further than if you didn't have it. Like there's got to be something egocentric about wanting to be number one in the world. Like that's ego, right? You know, there's some ego in wanting to be the best brand that people go to. There's an ego wanting to help the most people. That's a little bit egocentric. So, but it's not necessarily like a negative ego feedback system. I try and sprinkle a little bit of ego into things as much as needed, but I also don't want to get lost in it, because I think in the game of social media, it's very easy to get lost in their ego. I say friends, I've got acquaintances on social media who are lost in the sauce at the moment with their egos, and it's gonna come back and bite them eventually.
Sure, like, you will
real quick. So yeah, I guess I try and remain as egoless as possible, but when there is need for it, like wanting to show the fuck up when you feel shit in the gym, like, nah, this is it, we're coming for number one now, baby. Like, this is what I say in my head. I'm like, number one, baby, let's fucking go. You know, that has to be some ego in there. So as balanced as possible.
Yeah, but I was actually asking the tricky question because I reckon that you're dealing with it like in a very smooth balance. So congratulations on that as well. Man, thank you so much. It's been like an hour and I've learned and shared so much with you already. Thank you so much for answering the call and the invitation.
Appreciate it.
And I'm looking forward to, like, if you want to produce even more content together, or I don't know if I'll be able to travel to England anytime soon because of the restrictions and COVID and so on. But I'd be happy to share a training together whenever possible. If we can.
We have to.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Of course, guys, if you want to know Josh better and follow his work, I highly encourage you to do so. His content, his work ethic, and his creation of like just videos, podcasts, brand content is like exceptional. So go follow him. I'll of course add the links to your content and platforms in the description. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you for having me, man.
See you soon, hopefully.
Peace, man.